listening to the 14th source for all geeky and nerdy news and discussion, which means that you're listening to a podcast.
For all intents and purposes.
I am D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And we are your two overeducated, codependent nerds, bringing you the things that we like to talk about, but filtered through inquisitive and critical lenses. In the episode for Friday, May 31st, 2024.
Whew, what about last week's episode, man? We had a wild conversation. We had a special guest, Kyron of Taurus Comics.
One of the longest episodes we've done because the conversation was deep, and what's surprising is the feedback was minimal. Like no one, even though I don't think anybody really downloaded it.
It's weird. I mean, we did that massive conversation, a three-way conversation about X-Men 97.
Yep.
The nuances we touched on Onslaught, on Bone Claw, Wolverine, on Apocalypse. Man, we were just all over the place, and yeah, no one said anything. I haven't had someone. I haven't normally had people reach out and say, "Oh, good episode," and no one said anything.
So it's on you, listeners.
Yeah. What's up with not listening to the episode? Wait, I got a little update here. It never went up. Yeah.
No, it did.
It didn't.
It didn't.
Yeah. Boop, 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 boop. Episode never went up.
We did have everything we said was true. And not except for the poor performance of our listeners. Our listeners are wonderful, and we appreciate everything you do. No, technical difficulties prevented the episode from being not necessarily edited. It was just it just wasn't coming together in a way that was satisfactory for the. I don't want to say for the quality of show we're known for putting out, but like it's just in terms of audio quality and just the amount of cutting around technical, it was just too much. And at least Andrew, Kyron, and I have the conversation in our memories and in our hearts. And we thank you, Kyron, for coming on the show, despite the fact that the show
that no one heard it but us.
And you know what? That's a gift between us.
Yeah, it's our treat.
A gift is necessary right now, Andrew, because it's a big day today.
It's the 31st of May.
Yes, which is 2 days after the 29th of May. And the 29th of May is our anniversary as a show. And let me check. Our first show went up on May 29th, 2014. And so it's just another year down the line. Wait. I'm not the math guy.
It's 10.
That's 10.
Well, we just accidentally walked into our Teniversary.
We did. Hold on, let me look this up. It's
what is it? Is it like the Rust anniversary?
No, it's actually I did look this up because I wondered if the joke would come up. It is the tin or aluminium anniversary, Andrew.
Oh man, I really missed out. I could have sent you a whole roll of a whole roll of aluminum foil.
I've got a bowl of cold broccoli with cheese melted over it with a aluminum foil top on it. I don't know if that counts.
In celebration of that, I spent an inordinate amount of time at the DMV. Oh,
talking about nerdy and geeky things. Here we go.
No, I want to mention this. This is actually, everyone complains about having to stand in line at the DMV and having to fill out forms. So of course, the wonderful minds at Bethesda decided to make this part of your Fallout 76 experience. And I want to
so you're still in the Fallout 76 arena. You're still
this is actually a Fallout. I didn't go to the real DMV.
You're good. Thank God.
But it's funny because it literally is like they make this cultural joke about the DMV. Essentially, the pitch is you need to get a government issued ID card for reasons that are for something else, right? You need this thing to prove that you are actually a U.S. citizen. And of course, the whole point in this game is that West Virginia is very automated, right? There are robots running everything. Right. So technically the DMV is still open. Okay. There are just two Mr. Handies working the counter.
I was going to ask, what's the organization that's issuing these IDs? But as far as we're concerned, it's the U.S. government.
It's the U.S. government.
These robots have not turned off.
Or the regional, the Commonwealth government of Appalachia.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you go in there and you fill out the form saying, I'm Bob Vault Dweller, and then you go to the counter. You have to take a number, sir. So you have to go take a number and then start the queue because the queue's been turned off. And as soon as you start hearing C34,
What's your number?
so you're looking, you're like, oh shit, that's not even close to my number, right? I think, and the whole joke is it's an extended mission where you go through this, you get to the line, they start processing your paperwork, they say, oh wait a second, you don't have an address. You need to go get fill out a form for a valid Appalachia address. So you have to go to the building over to get the address waiver. You get back in, you get to the front line, the front line like, oh, actually, this is the line for renewals. You have to go into the queue for new applications. So you have to get another number, go through the process. He gives you some grief because you don't have a birth date, because you don't have a birth certificate.
Right.
All the while, you're getting attacked by ghouls.
Naturally.
And my favorite joke about it is that you keep hearing them call for J47. You're 25 years overdue. And then you see a ghoul named J47 come running. No, it's the reason I want to mention I want to say it was traumatizing. I mean, it was like going to the DMV, right? It was like I was so frustrated at the end of it because I kept having to go to different places to get different forms, go into a line again. Again, just like the real DMV experience.
You know, there's one person out there who's like, you know what? I got this DMV appointment. I'm just going to play a quick mission in Fallout 76. And
an hour and a half later, you're like, God damn it, I need a J40, or I need a DMV-1 alpha.3/7 form. There's a waiver for whatever, and I need the governor's stamp.
What I love about that is that it actually is a good example of what Fallout does best, which is that sort of emergent or environmental storytelling. I guess it's more environmental storytelling, where it's not narration or like your protagonist interacting in a dialogue with another character. It's paying attention to what's around you. Like you hear them calling out this number, and then if you're just sort of just blindly shooting because you are drinking and smoking weed on the couch just to kill an evening,
right.
You might not notice that ghoul running up to you is named
J47,
right? But like if you see all that stuff and kind of put the narrative together. That's one of the things I loved most about Fallout 76. And to an extent, this is what they do in the Elder Scrolls, but I think it's more present in Fallout, where you go into a building to loot it. And then, but if you see, like, just going into a room and seeing how skeletons are laid out, like realizing that that's not random, that there's actually thought put into this and piecing together the story of these last moments of these people's lives. I didn't mean to bring it down, but because honestly, like the whole DMV thing is a joke, but it's also a story you can put together and assign whatever emotion you want to attach to it.
Yeah.
And that's the core of what good Fallout gaming is, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm sorry you had to wait in the line at the DMV in Fallout.
I will say, I think the real final touch is when I finally get to the Mr. Handy that does new applications, and I have everything I need. He says, "Oh wait, we're on a coffee break right now," and he just floats there for like 10, 15 seconds and says, "Wait, coffee break ends in 5." And you're like, "You're not drinking coffee. You're a robot."
Did you clock it? Is it 5 real minutes?
No, it was like 10 or 15 seconds. I just stood there and he said, "Coffee break ending in 5, 4, 3." And I was like,
That's pretty good.
And again, it is just the gag on all of the bureaucracy wait in line things.
Yeah.
But in the milieu of a post-apocalyptic survival game.
Right.
So that was, I want to bring that humor to the episode.
That's a good segue. Actually, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I just wanted. People might be wondering. I have finished watching the Fallout TV show, and people. I agree with people. The ending was good.
You agreed with some people, because some people apparently went on the internet and said that Bethesda hates Fallout. Or whatever.
Thank God Amazon made the show.
Yeah. No, it's just, again, this is that thing where.
Interesting. Like, it's very Fallout-y, like it's equally dire and entertaining.
Right. Well, and just to kind of go on that, I do. I was thinking about this. I was reading someone talk on the internet or write on a blog or something about how when it comes to humor in in their like their games, like their tabletop role playing. They actually cited Fallout, where it is this very serious thing, but that then there's just this like clearly gag of like what is this? Oh my god, that's a joke on this, you know?
Right.
But sometimes the joke is presented in a serious light. Like I think you know, Fallout 4 had the stand-in for Walt Disney, the guy that owned the Nuka World theme park, and he's a head in a jar, right? And it's like that the whole thing is a joke, but it's all played for serious because his obsessive fan is there and he just wants to die. like the obsessive fan wants to keep him alive, and yeah, it's a strange experience, and maybe it's just because of the brutality and the grimness of it, right? Like, oh man, this is actually like a really ultra graphic, ultra gore, you know, like bodies exploding everywhere.
Right.
Let's make a joke about, you know, whatever, about the DMV. So, no, it was an interesting thing to think about, and I think the show captures that really well.
Yeah. So yeah, well deserving of the accolades that it got. I thought the way things came together for at least the main character, Lucy, like with her dad and especially her mom, that was actually kind of, again, presented in almost an absurdist, comical way. I guess spoilers, but thinking about if you were in that moment, how kind of horrific that would be to, I mean, she found her mom too, except...
Right, she found her mom, not what she was expecting.
But it's that balance, like you were saying, that makes it so Fallout, that makes it inherently tragic and sad and full of despair, but also like it's a ghoul sitting at a table with her best friend, I guess, who is also a big time insurgent for the NCR. Great stuff.
Right. And I think they couple that like the like the dark humor, the grim whatever, but then also like the biting commentary on I would say late stage capitalism, but you know, modern day capitalism. Right. Because they do all those things, and they manage to like, yeah, let's make a joke here. Then while pointing out that only 5 companies, you know, run the world in this place, and they're willing to literally start a nuclear war for profit, yeah, to capture that market share or whatever it was, right? Like, yikes!
And the fact that this is airing on Amazon Prime of all,
which
things.
is literally, I mean, one of the 5 companies at that table. Yeah, I'm surprised there isn't a new company they introduced for the show called, you know, TVotron or whatever. Right. You know, they got into shipping. Yeah. So probably because I got so like emotionally invested in this goddamn DMV, I wanted to talk about it because it wasn't something I expected. I did not expect to have a frustrating DMV day in a video
from the comfort of your own home.
From the comfort of my couch.
Actually, today I had a very casual and pleasant DMV experience, and just I was able to renew my car registration on my computer. No smog checker needed or anything like that. It was easy. Just
and no ghouls.
No ghouls as of yet. But who knows? The night is still young.
Yeah. But this week, you know, we don't have too much to say. I don't think. I think we sat down, I think, with the intent to do let's talk about our weeks in geek, and then I want to talk about the DMV and everything went sideways. I do want to say that,
as it often does when the DMV is involved.
I didn't realize this, so this is, I guess, kind of a week in geek. We're segueing here, right? It's the 10th anniversary. I gotta mix it up.
We're pros now. I mean, no one noticed until you pointed it out because we're just
the television show I've been watching, there's been a lot of, you know, the new Doctor Who, which we've already talked a lot about.
Yep.
I just want to take a quick second. So this Thursday is the final episode of Star Trek Discovery. So I have not seen it.
Like the capital F final, right? Like it is done.
Well, it's the season 5 finale, which is also the show finale.
Right, the series finale,
yeah. So I haven't seen the final episode. I will say leading up to it, I've seen, you know, all the episodes prior to it. And it's weird because, you know, they say that they didn't start filming it with the intent that this was going to be the final season.
Right.
But boy, does it feel like they're doing a bit of a all around the world tour for Star Trek, right?
Okay.
There's just a lot of like, oh, here's something here. Here's this reference to here. Here's this thing from here. And also kind of wrapping up a lot of, you know, Discovery things. And honestly, unless something catastrophic happens in the final episode, like they're like, and then they all die. Like, well, shit, that's an ending. I will say that I've actually really Discovery is one of those shows that its first season was a bit weird, and some would say rocky. But starting with season 2, and then I think once they got to further on, I think it was a really excellent show. I would say as a Star Trek show, it's a classy show. They've got some really great characters. I know that some people poo-poo it. I did hear someone say that, Star Trek : Michael cries. Because it's of all the Star Treks, it is definitely the most emotional, right? There's a lot more. What other shows have had family time and people having like emotional stuff. Certainly, this show does it regularly. Right?
Jake, why don't you like baseball more?
Like, I mean, and so like Jake and Cisco, Ben Cisco, or they have episodes, right? But it's like one episode a season at most, right? Where this is like, no, like half the season is somebody having emotional family time, whether it be Michael Burnham and various people, whether it's Saru, whether it's, what's his name? Pike in his season had a couple, they weren't family things, they were personal time.
Existential
dread. And then we have
personal time with his future self. Possible future self.
Yeah, we have Stamets and his partner. They there's all these emotional things that make it a much more like.
Ironically, Spock and his fiancée not that emotional.
Weird, Vulcans, huh? Yeah. Also, she wasn't in Discovery, but
not yet.
It goes the long way around.
What if they go through like a rip in time and space and they all wake up as the crew from...
No, so I'm waiting for, given that Jonathan Frakes is still involved, I hope they, I want to know, it's like, what is it, Breaking Bad had the alternate ending, for those that don't know, where it's actually just the main character waking up in his bed with his co-star from Malcolm in the Middle, and he's like, I just had this wild dream, and it's a parody of the old Newhart ending.
Right.
I forget which Newhart show ended that way. One of the shows, either Bob Newhart, whatever. But I kind of want to see
Super Mario Brothers 2, USA.
I want to see the secret ending to Star Trek Discovery where we find out, it's just once again Riker in the holodeck. Computer freeze program, and just like old Admiral Riker or whatever strolls in so is that what it could be like in the future? Again, as a gag, I don't really want to see that. But yeah, no, I will say it's sad to see a Star Trek show that by this point, this is like it's a banger of a season. I would say it's probably one of their better ones. The theme of like the adventure, the chase, basing it on that original TNG episode is really, again, assuming that the last episode isn't just a big really it's like, unless it's terrible, again, unless we find out the whole thing is a holodeck simulation. I really have enjoyed the show, and here's hoping whatever new stuff they do, because I know they've got some new stuff on the horizon, kind of measure up to some of the what I've gotten out of this. And I'm not to dismiss the other shows. I actually think they've got a lot of real like smash in Star Trek right now, and I think Discovery, despite its rocky season, is kind of the show that got them all started, and now it's really firing on however many cylinders you want to fire on.
But it's also like the sort of the sounding call for the sea change that's about to happen, because we got that wrapping up. Obviously, we had not Star Trek Primal, Star Trek Prodigy, right? Kind of.
Oh, right, Prodigy, which I still haven't even found out
what's happening with season 2, right?
Oh, I heard that Netflix is going to do it. But then when are they going to do it? And also, why is it not on
the proprietary streaming network that they already paid for? Like the season is already done, ostensibly, from what I understand.
I see. It's its first release, 2024, to be announced.
But also, Lower Decks is coming to an end, right?
Right.
Like the only obviously, Strange New Worlds is still active. I think
it is.
Anything else?
Section 31 film is in production. That's with Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
And I think that one is probably going to be out in the next year. And then there's the Starfleet Academy show.
Oh, right.
Which I believe, last I read, is supposed to be set in the 32nd century.
Okay.
So contemporaneous to Discovery.
Okay.
But that's weird. I mean, there's other it makes sense given the story of what happens in Discovery. It's just weird because it's so detached from the other stuff. However, I honestly, if you watch the show, if you watch Discovery, Mary Weissman, who's been in Discovery, she takes a bit of a hiatus in season 4, but she's back in 5. Her whole thing is she goes back to Starfleet Academy to be a instructor. So like it's a natural segue into, and she, in fact, there's a whole episode where she like does a whole training cadets thing. So I could see them doing that show, and I think that's what they're doing. But that's coming out in #future. I don't even know if they have an estimated time on that.
Yeah. So really interested to see kind of, because like I said, the end of this show is signaling a weird transitional period, liminal period for Star Trek, which makes me excited, considering they do clearly have a lot of talent and energy kind of going behind the scenes on the Star Trek front. But I don't feel like a lot of what's ahead for Star Trek is a big question mark. So I hope it's all good. I'm sure it won't be terrible, right? Because but who knows? Hopefully something catches.
We'll see.
Yeah. Of course, the power move here would be in the final episode, and you'll know by the time this episode goes up. But if it doesn't turn out to be Riker in the holodeck, of course, the power move would be that this has all been a holodeck, a fantasy by Barclay.
Well, there's actually the animated short joke where it's people saying computer end program, and it keeps metaing out one more level to like a different Star Trek character saying computer end program.
Yeah.
So, we could just do that. Like we're like 15 15 levels of holodeck simulation deep
into it. But you actually talked about like Star Trek Prodigy in theory going onto Netflix, right? That reminds me of, I guess, for lack of a better word, I haven't done a lot of Week in Geek stuff, and that's new to talk about. Since the semester ended, I've been neck deep in just working on Long John, the final book of Long John, which should be out by the end of the year. Let's hope. Because for Long John as well, it's going to be 10 years this year, and I need to get that story done. Basically, for any sort of free time, I've been playing sort of the same 3 games I've been talking about for the last couple months. I've been playing Balatro, I've been playing Outer Worlds, and I've been playing Fallout 76. But I did want to point out on Netflix, on the 31st, as of today, a show I've talked about on the podcast before is actually moving from HBO to Netflix. And hold on, there's a police helicopter. And it's not a new season. It's just moving because it got canceled at HBO and Netflix picked it up. But it's an animated series, a sci-fi animated series called Scavengers Reign. That, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily need a second season, but it's such a novel, weird, interesting, and just unique show that I just wanted to help any chance of it surviving into at least a second season by promoting it on whatever platform we have here. It drops on May 31st on Netflix, and I encourage everybody to watch this very weird, beautiful, quiet, sober, scary, but just competent and confident animated show called Scavengers Reign about this exploratory vessel that basically gets compromised and escape pods scatter onto this alien planet. And it's kind of about the survivors reuniting, but it's really more about just following these different groups of people and how they're surviving on a completely capital A alien world. And for me, it reminded me a lot of the aesthetic and storytelling and style of a comics series I talked about a lot before. The rebooted Prophet series, not the original 90s Rob Liefeld Prophet, but the weird, just like sort of European, surreal, expressionistic sci-fi Conan series, as they kind of called it. That is just, it's approaching science fiction from such a unique point of view and a different and inclusive, but also just alien angle. I can't recommend this series enough. And if I can get even one person to watch the show, I can feel at least a little more confident having done my part to protect and hopefully get another season out of this. What's especially interesting is how it reinforces kind of how it was made, because it's really beautifully animated. But from what I understand, very sort of disparately animated. It wasn't within the hallowed halls of a single animation house, because it was made during COVID. And so an animation studio reached out to animators that people knew and what you knew, and kind of assigned scenes and shots to people kind of all around the world. So it's this really kind of global effort to make this really unique show. And it actually comes across as a very cohesive, and I can't emphasize this enough, very weird science fiction series that has so much promise and potential and just interesting ideas that I wanted to talk about it again. And since you provided the segue there with perhaps Star Trek Prodigy coming to Netflix, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get a season 2 out of Scavengers Reign as well. So that's my little plug here for the week.
And I will say, I mean, Prodigy is on Netflix now.
Oh, okay.
The second season, I'm not sure. And I think actually the idea is they are going to bring the second season. It just, they're finishing it up. I mean, because most of it was done, I guess, or at least a substantive amount when they decided to cancel it.
Right. That's kind of what we had heard before in reporting. Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, that was the weird part, is that they canceled it. But we were talking about, like, didn't they say it was wrapped? Like, didn't they say it was kind of done?
Right. Like, they have, there's like a preview shot of like, here's like a 5-minute sequence from the first episode. Like,
right. Didn't they even really release, at least temporarily, online the first episode of season 2, or was it just like a scene?
It was just a scene.
Oh, okay.
It was a scene, but it was like 4 or 5 minutes long. They said like, yeah, we're done with like the I think they said the first half of the season was just done. And then the second half was in like post-production or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're probably still finishing it. And I don't know. Netflix is waiting for the most awkward time to release something.
Just described my whole life.
Let's just wait till like, May the 4th. Yeah, that's a good day to release a Star Trek show.
I wanted to kind of bring the show to a close. I did briefly and quickly re-listen to, as painful as it kind of was, not really, it was fine, the first episode of our podcast, Andrew. And I wrote down some questions that I'm sure our fans have been wanting to know the answers to. Stuff that we've avoided for 10 years. Are you ready?
Okay.
We opened the show by talking about our credentials, and we haven't really talked too much about our work since then. How's life working at the call center?
Shit, did I work? Was I still at the call center? I guess
yes,
I was.
You were.
Yeah,
you said so.
Yeah, no, I was. I guess 2014. I was still in the call center.
Yeah, and
wow.
Have you gotten any raises?
Yeah. Well, yeah, a different job. Now work at a university as a director of budget and operations. Yeah.
Cool. As I call a promotion. Did I ever launch this new comic I was promoting called Long John? Yeah, briefly touched on it before. Yes.
Sure shit not done with it.
Sure shit not done with it. Just like this show.
How many issues have you done? How many issues?
I'm working on the 6th.
Yeah. I mean, I'm teasing a little bit, but
yeah.
I mean, it's a completely self-done, but also very well done. Right?
Thank you. So yeah, moving forward, how is your Pokemon habit treating you?
I've really skipped a few games.
Because the Pokemon game you talked about was, I think, the re-release.
X or Y?
No, it was the re-release, like the remake of the original games. Like, it was Red and Blue as re-released or remade as Ruby and
that doesn't
Amethyst.
Sound right.
Well, I don't fucking give a shit about Pokemon. But have you even thought about Pokemon recently?
Oh yeah, sure. Who doesn't love Pokemon?
Yeah, you love it?
I don't play them. Last time I tried to, I mean, that's that thing where you turn it on, you start playing, and then 10 hours later you've caught 17 Pokemon and advanced the main story by about an hour.
Right?
Maybe this game is not for me.
We talked about Doctor Who. And I guess the question is, do we still enjoy Doctor Who? Off and on.
Yeah,
off
I
and
think
on.
we do.
I do generally. I'm less critical of it than some people, but
I mean, I've gotten a lot less critical about it. But I'll tell you, I'm enjoying it a lot more. So,
The main topic we discussed was apparently the writer David S. Goyer had some things to say about She-Hulk. And the question I wrote down is like, who was right, She-Hulk or David Goyer? Well, I looked up David Goyer's resume recently. He's been mostly producing, not writing a whole lot. And She-Hulk, we got a pretty good Disney Plus series out of there. Obviously, it's been controversial because it stars a female. But I guess, according to him, was the show that we did get, was it basically about how people, oh God, what was his comment? It was something shitty. It was like, we wanted to see someone that the Hulk could have sex with or something like that. Wasn't it something weird like that?
Something weird like that. Instead, we got someone that Daredevil could get roughed up by. And
in his red and yellow costume, by the way.
It is right. And the idea that a lot of people were actually much more interested in seeing big lady tossing a little man around. So you go, internet weirdos.
So that's 10 years. Congratulations, Andrew. What the hell are we doing? We still, as the title of our first episode would indicate, I would say we still don't know shit.
That's fair. We still don't know shit.
We're
Anniversary edition. We don't know shit. Anniversary edition. There you go.
So if you, dear listeners, have any thoughts about the topics we discussed this week, feel free to leave your thoughts as comments on the page for this episode at forallintents.net.
You can also post your comments or engage in conversations with other listeners on our Facebook page.
You can find us in other social media as well, specifically the places that Andrew and I frequent, which means you can find me on Instagram at dbethelcomics, and you can find Andrew on Mastodon at profounddark@dice.camp.
While you're at our website at forallintents.net, you can also take a look at our YouTube page, which you can find by clicking on the link in the corner that says YouTube. There you'll find the show simulcast in YouTube. Feel free to like and subscribe, ring the bell. That tells the algorithm that you like two weird guys talking about nerd stuff.
Indeed. We use 2 tracks of music for our show. One is called District Medusa, the other is called District 4, both written and performed by Kevin MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod, immortal swordsman, graph paper enthusiast, and musician extraordinaire.
You can find his music at incompetech.filmmusic.io, and that's all licensed under the Creative Commons 4.0 Attribution License.
If you'd like the show and like to help us out, the best way to do so would be to subscribe to the show using whichever podcasting service you happen to use. What would help us out even more, though, would be to leave some sort of review. Whether a text review or using their proprietary metric helps spread the word to new potential listeners to the magic of algorithms. So 10 years, Andrew. How long are we going to force ourselves to keep doing this?
Uh-oh.
As long as the demand is there. Wait.
No, let's not say that.
Let's not say that at all. I guess as long as we're still friends.
Yeah, and we love suffering.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, honestly, it's until we're like, I just don't want to edit audio anymore.
Well, I'll tell you. I will tell you, we're both getting a little too old for this shit.
Indeed.
But every week, especially every week I have someone reach out and say, hey, that was a nice episode. And then when we don't do one, they're like, oh, are you okay? So I like to think that there's someone that uses this show as like proof of life for us.
Well, what that tells us is that we both need to get out of the house more. So until you get out of the house after 10 years, dear listeners, I'm D. Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And for all intents and purposes,
that was a podcast.
I was closer than I was not.
That doesn't even make sense.
I was closer than you shut up.
And then go to the weird boop boop to get to the boop.
Right.
Oh, extra features. Boop boop. There's the show.
We use 2 tracks of music for our show. One is called Disco Medusa. The other is called District 4. But, oh, God. I like bad movies, though, so...
I like bad movies that cannot lie.
The other brothers can't deny. I'm shaking that Mad Max in your face.
Like, oh, do you want to watch this on the Handjob app? Like, no,
yes.
I don't, actually. Thank you.
Generally, I do, yes. What? There's an app for that? Of course there's an app for that. We'll see. Yeah, it's fine. We'll wing it. 10 years in. We don't got to follow any rules, no plans. And we're back. to say goodbye to our inaugural episode of Untitled Podcast. That was fun, Andrew.
Yes, it was. And hopefully I didn't get too passionate about Wonder Woman.
No, I don't think you got passionate enough. That's my one criticism.
We'll save that for next week.
I'll give you notes. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll come up with a nice sign-off at some point, but right now we are swimming in the shallow end, trying to find the edge. That was dumb.
That's okay. We'll make better
choices.
Yes, yeah, in the future.
Anyway, until that time happens, I'm Dan Bethel.
And I'm Andrew Asplund.
And see you next week?
Or something equivalent.
Something equivalent. We'll see you next time.
We can do this all in post.
All better.